So let's see what's coming out of the cloud for pdfToolbox 14. 3 topics, each of them rather short. Whoever is in the cloud already has solutions in the cloud, maybe in the Elastic Cloud, probably is familiar with Docker images. We have done something for pdfToolbox in Docker images, so that is the first topic. Then whenever you would use pdfToolbox in a Docker image, you will have seen that you have an activation issue. So how can you activate pdfToolbox if it's running in a Docker image? And then finally, I also want to briefly show you how easy it is to bring the 2 new things, Docker images and license server in the cloud, to already reveal a little bit what is it about, how to bring these 2 things together. So first, Docker images. Docker images are kind of runtime environments, pre-configured environments that you can start off, and that include pdfToolbox. We had an article in the online documentation that had, and we still have that article, explaining how to create a Docker image. And for the ones who only live in the sun and don't know what a cloud is or are not in the cloud already, for those ones, in the cloud you may want to set up your cloud to be elastic, which means whenever you receive too many requests to do something, just start off another instances of your solution, which in this case would be pdfToolbox. So you may have a web application where where people can do stuff with pdfToolbox, and then if you get too many requests to do something, then the single server that you have provided may not be fast enough. And then the cloud could be set up to automatically start off another instance of pdfToolbox. And then in a real cloud environment, you may have tens or even hundreds of those runtime environments, including pdfToolbox. And these runtime environments are Docker images. And Docker images usually are a simple light version of Linux and pdfToolbox in our example here. And then the online article that I mentioned explained you how to create such a Docker image for yourself. Up until from now on, it's even easier. Again, still you could use that article, but you could as well just go to a website which is called Docker Hub, which kind of is the place to be if you have a pre-configured image that you want to make available for the rest of the world. There already were a few Docker images available in on Docker Hub that included pdfToolbox, provided by partners or whatsoever. From now on, there also is an official organization. The term on Docker Hub is organization. There's an official callas software organization where we make the official or the Docker image that we created available to you. So when you visit Docker Hub, you just enter, as you can see here, callas software /pdfToolbox -CLI, and then you should find what you see on the right-hand side, which is an image, and the resolution is not good enough to see that on the very right-hand side, you also have a link that would get you directly to this image. Now, that is, I believe, the right solution from now on for everybody who is in the cloud and setting up a new thing. But in some cases, you may say, it's not enough for me. For instance, and a common example would be, I need LibreOffice to be in that image because I don't just want to process PDF files. I also want to process Office files, and I want these Office files to be converted in pdfToolbox to PDF. And then what you want to have is you want to have a Docker image that not just includes pdfToolbox, that would also include LibreOffice. Or you may want to have some fonts available to pdfToolbox that you want to add to your Docker image. Yeah? And then the simple solution here is just use the Docker image as provided on callas software /pdfToolbox -CLI and adjust it to your needs. Yeah, and that is also explained in the online documentation. So next is, if you have that Docker image, usually, as you all know, you would have to activate it. So you have pdfToolbox, you have a license file, you need to enter a -- key code and so forth on command line to activate it. But you can't do that in a Docker, or you could do that in a Docker image, but that information is not persistent. And if you would create a new instance, if you would run the same Docker image again to provide another instance, you would have lost that activation information. Yeah, so you would have to, you need to have some activation that is outside of your Docker image. The Docker image itself can't have an activated pdfToolbox. And that brings license server in the cloud into play. So what you could do as of today, or let's say as of yesterday, you could set up your own license server. So you have your cloud environment, and that various partners do so, and we will happily support them in the future. You set up your own license server or your triads or three instances of the license server for failover, and then your own Docker image would ask the license server whether they are allowed to run, and then they would run. We wanted to make that easier and have therefore set up a license server ourselves in the cloud. So you wouldn't have in the future, you wouldn't have to set up your own license server. You could also use our license server that we provide. And that license server already sits in the cloud and waits for you in the Amazon cloud. And you can find it at the URL licenseserver.callassoftware.com. Yeah, so in the future, so if you use a license server, normally you would just enter the IP address of the license server into your command line call. In the future, you could instead also insert licenseserver.callassoftware.com as a reference to the license server that you want to use in your command line call. And now we need to understand, of course, this license server, because it is a shared thing, so it's not just for a single customer, it's for everybody who wants to use it. This needs to be slightly more complex as the normal license server that you may install in your own cloud. So in order to address the issue of that this license server is shared, each user of it has a wallet. Yeah, so in order to use the license server in the cloud, the Callas software license server in the cloud, you would have to have a wallet ID, and the wallet then can be loaded with cartridges. Cartridges in the same way as you would use a cartridge in your own license server. Here, you wouldn't directly load it into the license server, you would load it into your wallet on that license server if you want. Yeah, so if you purchase a cartridge for Callas software license server in the cloud, you would get two things. If you do it for the first time, you would get a wallet ID, and that is the important thing that you need to use to provide to the license server to identify you. And then within that wallet, the license server already knows, okay, this wallet ID has that number of cartridges. Okay? Okay, now bringing things together. How to use the whole thing. I mean, I'm I don't have my own cloud system, but I was surprised how easy that actually is. Yeah, so now you want to use it. The only thing that you need to do, and probably everybody who has an Elastic Cloud system already knows everything what is coming now, but I just wanted to make the picture complete. So you install a Docker environment, and then once you have that, you enter on the command line docker pull callas software /pdfToolbox CLI, and then Docker will take care of loading that image into your environment, and then you have it there, and then next you can immediately use pdfToolbox CLI. You would just enter docker run, then you give it the name of your Docker image, then you'd say, okay, I want to use pdfToolbox, and now comes licenseserver.callassoftware.com. You have two additional command line parameters here. One is the very same thing that you would also use with your own license server, -- license server, but the URL here is now licenseserver.callassoftware.com. And then an additional parameter, which is ls message, that would get the wallet ID. And then you can do whatever you want to do with pdfToolbox, provided you have a wallet ID and a cartridge in there. Yeah? That's it, basically. A few additional things. So if you would enter on in your browser, in your web browser, licenseserver.callassoftware.com, you would see something different. You can monitor what is in your wallet. In order to do so, you would also have to enter your wallet ID here, which you can remember on your system so that you don't have to re-enter it all the time. And then you could see how many cartridges you have, which is one run count cartridge here. So I could use 3 parallel processes, I believe. And then there currently is one session using my cartridge. So I have up-to-date current information about what's going on in my cloud environment or in the environment that uses licenseserver.callassoftware.com. I could do the very same thing using a REST API. So if I don't want to see that in my browser, if I want to integrate that information into some other system that I have, I could also get this as a JSON structure, the very same information, and then I could do whatever I want with that with these JSON information.
That may bring to having more than wallet ID per customer.
Whether it's possible to have more than one wallet ID per customer?
Yeah.
No.
That will, in the case of, when a customer have more than one license server license.
I mean, in theory, you could. I mean, I would have to ask partners here.
Yeah. So that's a very sneaky way to get what you want. Yes, I agree. Yeah. I think there might be a slight problem with the way we anticipate to implement this in our order fulfillment system, but that should probably not stop you. So if you think that would be helpful, ask us the question, and we'll see how we can do that.
First, to make the picture complete, of course, there is documentation we've created, and that applies to everything. Sarah said that in the beginning. So as with pdfToolbox 13 and earlier versions, documentation is part of the product. Everything that you need to know in order to use the new features in pdfToolbox 14 should be in the online documentation, including a new chapter which has a name using pdfToolbox in cloud environments. So this is not about pdfToolbox in some cloud hosted by Callas software. This is about using pdfToolbox in your cloud, and that has articles using pdfToolbox Docker images from Docker Hub, license server in the cloud, and the one article that existed before, create your own pdfToolbox Docker images from scratch. So now let's talk business. As you have imagined, there is pricing for it, basically for license server in the cloud. Of course, the Docker image comes for free because it doesn't have a license. But in order to use it with licenseserver.callassoftware.com, you need a cartridge. And a cartridge for one instance, one parallel process of pdfToolbox is 120 euro per month or 1,200 euro per year. And you could also have credits cartridges, which means seconds of processing time. All cartridges here, because they already have a time during which they can be used, include support and maintenance. Yeah, other than for the process cartridges for your own license server, there is no additional support and maintenance fee because that is already included in these fees here. Yeah. So, and then in order to use it, as David has mentioned, what you really need, of course, is a wallet ID, and that wallet ID needs to have at least one cartridge. And in order to get that, that is the very same thing that you would do for every other license that you would want to have for our product. You contact your partner. Yeah? And then, of course, as David has said, for Peace is the one who then generates the licenses and then provides them to you or to your partner. Yeah? That's it from my side. Thanks.